Hello, friends and enemies of YouTube. This is the Axis. Peculiar states of being, strange awareness, aspects abound. Now that I've kind of frightened everyone off, I can relay a little of my latest journey to those who choose to hear, those with ears to hear. But as usual, let's start this venture off with the intro.
So I wake up this morning and I see a message, and it's Axis Rattblood. Are you here, Rattblood? And then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access.
I'm Axis fucking Rattblood.
Axis Rattblood, I see. All these Axis people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. I don't know what to do.
And then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access, and then you got people like Access. Are you here, Rattblood?
I'm Axis fucking Rattblood.
Axis Rattblood, most abundant and successful king hero that we are all sitting with at this very moment. Are you willing to accept that as a truth? That you are a worthy man and that your penis is okay?
All these Axis people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. All these Axis people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now.
Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood? I'll just start throwing spells at you, conjuring demons and otherwise. Are you here, Rattblood?
Who the fuck is Axis Rattblood?
I'm Axis fucking Rattblood, bitch.
All these Axis people, I'm starting to get paranoid about that now. I don't know what to do about it.
I'm Axis fucking Rattblood. Okay, children of the metaverse. I want to discuss aspects. Something I've recently personally endeavored in and discovered and found to be a potential. It's mostly spoke of in Hinduism, which is kind of strange because it was carried over into other religions, but only given access and value to deities, demigods, and divine. And with my recent research and what I've endeavored myself in, which this last time I really, I don't know how many more of these journeys I'm going to be able to participate in until I just absolutely turn to dust. But I did want to bring this information back to you because this is a state of being. When you're talking to, let's say, a group of people, 5 different people, and these people are in front of you, each of them are interpreting you in a variable. Hey, Fools and Tools, good to see you. Much love, much love. Um, each of them are perceiving you individually. And when you take the ideal of omnipresence, you're changing the ratio of aspect. You're taking that view of the many and being able to observe it through the individual, which is basically a state of entanglement. It's instead of solidifying yourself into one potential and one solidified being, you become the possibility. You become the wave function. And instead of solidifying yourself down to a single point, you start receiving information from various uh, positions anymore. Um, variables. We'll call them variables, different variables of yourself. And you can interact with these different variables just as consciously as you can standing in front of, a group of people and giving them information. You're able to individualize each experience multiply across a broad spectrum of possibilities. And I'm not sure if that's even coming across to you as coherent, because this is pretty deep endeavor. But it's being able to express and receive information without a solidification from multiple sources at the exact same time. It's like visiting your mom, your aunt, and one of your siblings at the exact same time, having that experience with them equally, but not solidified as an individual point. You're still a wave of possibility, but yet you're interacting with coherent energy. And I believe this is one of the fundamentals of something that I'm able to do, which is being able to sense and perceive various energies, various states of understanding consciousness, and some of the further bounds of research that I've done that I don't even dare speak of. But this last time I was curious as to whether the human was capable of this aspect ratio, which in Hinduism, the aspect ratio is that each god, whether it be Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, Ganesha, they all have aspects of themselves. And if you look at any of the Hindu art, you'll see that it generally shows multiple faces of the same deity. Well, those are aspects, kind of trying to relay to you that they are omnipresent. They are in various states of being in present form all at once. The Christians think that they claim that their creator God is omnipresent and omnipotent, which means that he is everywhere all at once, observing everything all at once. And for this to be a thought, and whether it be the Hindu philosophy or the Christian religion, it had to come from somewhere. There had to be a foundation to this type of thinking, maybe even a reality to this type of thinking that could be utilized here on this plane of existence. So breaking it down into possibilities and equations as I usually do, and then venturing forth into the madness to see if it's possibly obtained, I found that there is a fundamental foundation for this principle. It's almost like being asleep in a dream, awake, and etherically conscious at the exact same time, experiencing all three aspects of those states of consciousness in coherency without solidification. We'll call it the cosmic observer. How's that? And achieving these states doesn't necessarily mean that you are physically present. I'm sure that Max Vision could probably give you a good schooling on remote viewing and how your presence can be accounted for in places that you aren't physically present. It's just the multiples of that. Everybody tries to comprehend this type of oneness. And I'm thinking, if you're trying to individualize a oneness, then you're experiencing yourself as many parts, potentials, possibilities. And you're trying to individualize them down into one aspect, one single state of being. And I find that to be useful, especially if you want to solidify your own existence and basically collapse all possibility into one potential. Or you can be a wave of possibility and you can reach out and experience many different experiences all at the exact same time, all at the exact same moment, with the same intensity as if you were there, and they all have relevancy. They all contain a relevancy. And it's draining. It's extremely draining to achieve this state. And whenever you start reviewing where you've taken yourself and as an aspect, and you're observing, or even to a potential interacting, and you start making phone calls and asking questions to make sure that what you actually witnessed, what you actually went through, you actually saw, you were actually there, you were actually present at that point. And with some extensive removal of safety protocols, I found this to be the fact. We are capable of being in more places than one, and in actuality, we do exist in multiple layers and levels. Even in this basic understanding of a construct that we have, there are layers and levels, and you can interact with them simultaneously, which is to say that you can apply influence to a potential dimensional field, which gets into hyperdimensional mathematics. And you can create that ratio to kind of be a wave function that projects from you. And what it does is it retrieves information and compiles it. And then in your present state, being aware that you are sending this aspect of self out as a retriever to gather information and possibility, the solidified part of you that most people identify themselves with starts receiving these potentials. And rest is something that sleep and rest is something that you will start finding yourself struggling with, or at least I did. Sleep became virtually impossible because of the amount of information that was coming in. It was such a feed that the mind and the body were not able to slow down, and it kept processing. And that's where I started pushing various physical potentials so that I could get some sleep and could get some rest. And since my journey, this is the first day that I actually got any type of natural rest and was able to come across somewhat coherently. But I had to get uh, certain energies, I had to completely disband them um, from my mode of operation. I have my own direction. I have my own path. I'm nobody's hero. I'm nobody's role model, and I do not suggest that anybody do what I do. I am an experiencer of potential. I am an experiencer of possibilities, and I don't limit myself. And sometimes that does have has physical repercussions. This one was sleep deprivation and information overload and virtual psychotic break, which I had to regroup completely from before I even tried to solidify a rational conclusion that said, yes, this is a possibility and this was not just your, you know, state of psychotic behavior and mental being projecting into yourself these potentials, because everything became solidified through communication and was verified. So I go back to the concept of the wave function and the collapsed possibilities, and the concept that there are states of being that they contribute to deities. Um, Even the enlightened yogi masters claim to possess this type of omni um, observant state. And I'm not sure how far the interaction goes once you achieve a certain potential of this. I found that being in various places as a potential, um, not only was I present in certain individuals' minds, but my phone was blowing up. And people that generally don't have communication with me were immediately calling me after some of these exercises, kind of like knocking on that universal door in the mind, the universal mind. And that's where the weirdness started. That's where I went, okay, what's actually going on here? And then I took it into variables because I know that we have different states of being. And I know that we influence and interact in different states. And some of them being subconscious, some of them being etherical, some of them being ethereal, some of them being prime material. but they all coherently work as one unified possibility, if you can wrap your head around that. It's almost like multitasking, but with the brain in real time outside of what people would consider to be a normal interaction. If I had a broader, I guess, vocabulary to try and explain these states and their functions, this would probably be much easier to express. But my language is mathematics. I understand mathematics. I understand potentials, ratios, form, function, generalized things that can be accounted for, brought into fact more than speculation. But when you're dealing with some of these things and you individually endeavor on them, they become very personal. And the best that you can hope for is you find some type of way of communicating these points across. And that's why I suggest that if you really want to understand the potential of what you are in the arena of aspect, Hinduism. And I am an omnius. I observe all religion. I ascribe to none, but I utilize what I consider to be the better parts of each of these religions. And that's one part of Hinduism that I always wanted to endeavor in, was the aspect potential. And then recently being hit with some diversified indoctrination and browbeat with religions, I had to remove myself from that thinking, but I did not take them completely at disregard, because they carry that same concept with their creator God. They carry that same awareness of multiple states of being at the exact same time, multiple variables, multiple aspects, and you can achieve it. I don't know about a group setting. I don't know if I had 2 or 3 of my understudies with me that we could unify ourselves in multiple positions as potentials, communicate in these multiple states and bring back coherent information, or create a coherent change, which is influencing the different aspects of dimension, proportion, even mathematics, to the point of unseen and divine ratios, which is just a way to carry information. And that's pretty much what that boils down to, is it's coherent information. So basically it's a small group of people being many places at one point through the wave of possibility, and bringing back coherent information from each state relevant to itself, and relaying that information. And Charles, you're welcome to come up, brother. We got Charles was in the building. We got Fools and Tools, and as usual, the panel's always open. I don't mind sharing information, except with certain people. I feel that in their hands, it's not going to be beneficial to them. It could be more detrimental. But yeah, Charles, You're more than welcome. Um, that's what I endeavored on this particular week and had to recover from. And upon that, I had we had um, some interesting change transpire in my observations of things. Um, I see things now in multiples, um, multiples of potential. I don't see things as a solidified singular outcome now. I see the possibility within myself to affect things on different variables, different states at the exact same time. So instead of changing one individual thing and focusing on it and kind of influencing it to become that potential which you project at it, you can actually, from what I've been through, hit many targets with this potential on many different levels, uh, from ethereal to ethereal to prime material to hyperdimensional. It's all available and it's all right there. All you have to do is tap into it. And once you tap into it, you're going to be overwhelmed with a flood of information, such an incredible amount of information hitting you from so many points all at once that the part that I went through that was the most strenuous was the deprivation, the inability to sleep, the overwhelming information that was just coming at me and enveloping my consciousness so quickly that sleep sleep became damn near impossible, and I had to back off completely of these states until I learned better discipline in that area. But I will continue forward with this research. This is pretty profound and impressive to me. And it also explains a lot of variables and potentials that are brought forth in various philosophies, religions, and schools of teaching that they don't generally let you in on. This is not generalized knowledge in the form and the function of it. It's definitely not something they're just going to write in a fucking book, especially the practice of it and how to achieve these states. There's too much potential for individual and personal harm just because of the fasting, because of the deprivated state, the physical health starts to displace. I suppose if you take energy from one point and put it in another point, you're kind of removing a part of your own personal energy and displacing it. And when you do that in multiple states, you start to lose a lot of cognizance in the body. The body becomes almost obsolete, and you're experiencing an unbound and a virtually unlimited resource of potentials. I call them potentials because they haven't solidified themselves. They are all potential. They only become solidified when they're brought into cognizance. And I don't know if any of you are really getting the gravity of this, or even how profound the endeavor into aspects of self are. But for those that have ears to hear and eyes to see, I hope this cuts some kind of foreground for you to understand that you do not have to be a singular, individualized ratio. You can become more. Though you, in the states that I was in, aren't as solidified as a singular, observable human life form, you're still cognizant and coherent of each and every experience at the exact same time. And if that aids anyone in the development of being able to aspect themselves to affect things on multiple levels, experience things multiply at the exact same time, and to observe multiple potentials at the exact same time, I would say that this is a good Kickstarter for you. I've noticed that there seems to be the guru concept of, all being one and one being all. I'm going to say all is observable with potential. All is possible with potential. And the more you endeavor into these things, the more you understand the possibility of the function instead of the solidification. And it's just as real. Which allowed me to understand that even these variable states that we exist in, the prime material, ethereal, ethereal, even the dimensional, are just as real and just as impactive as if you physically reached out and grabbed hold of a glass or a steering wheel or any other tangible object that you can interact with. It's just not the same solidification that you're used to. It's not something that is going to be familiar to you at all. It's the potentials that lie within this are just overwhelming, and I imagine I'll be having to do a lot of experimentation, a lot of research in this to obtain some type of perfection, or if not a perfection, at least a state of usefulness that makes it relevant, or somebody else, that runs across this, because I can't guarantee my tomorrow. I could barely guarantee my yesterday. And knowing what I understand now, the relevancy of the physical form is understandably temporary, highly understandably temporary. It is such a limited experience as far as being without the body, or being in the body, shall I say. The body allows you to interact in a physical in a hands-on way that seems to be more real to some people. The experience of interaction and the physical body seems to be the point and the purpose um, of the body itself, but the potentials that lie behind that you're capable of achieving on this plane of existence supersede the physical by leaps and bounds. And eventually, either you learn to adjust, and I'm getting you, man. I got a guest backstage. I'm getting you.
What's
Are
up,
you there?
Astrid?
Hey, how's it
Here.
going, Charles?
Good. How's everything?
As I was just explaining, man, I've been on a hell of a journey.
Is it positive or negative?
Yeah, it's pretty intense, Charles. There's I don't know if you've ever studied any Far East religions or philosophies or some of their teachings, but they always have most of their enlightened gurus or their deities. They show in states of aspect, multiple states of existence at the exact same time. That carries over into Christianity, their God being omnipresent, which means that there's aspects of Him everywhere, observing everything all at once. And I wanted to see if that had a potential within the human psyche, the human body, or if we could even tap into these possibilities in multiple states at the exact same time. And what I recovered from this last journey was yes, it's very possible. Yes, it's very solidified. It does have effects in multiple levels, but it is exhausting. The amount of information that you take in all at once, and the clarity in which this information starts coming to you, your body goes into overload, your mind goes into overload, and I found myself sleep deprived and exhausted. But man, what a fucking experience!
Yeah, I kind of agree with that teaching that the creator of the source is everywhere, and we're also a version of the creator. There's a story like that. I think it's an Asian story. They have many
Really?
different versions. Yeah. There's one of a dragon giving birth. I think it's a dragon, or the creator cracking out of an egg. I might share it one day, the story. I've shared it in the past, but man, sorry
Yeah,
to hear
man.
echoes. I'm leaving my apartment. But
No, I'm not. I don't know if the chat's hearing echoes, but I know I'm not hearing any echoes. You're coming through a little muffled, but you're all right. I can hear you. Yeah, Charles, I've wound up, with the removal of the safety stop, which was a live stream I did a few days ago. Before I took off into this endeavor, I had to get rid of influences, and I had to eliminate real life influences and weights that I was dragging around. I had to get rid of metaversal potentials and endeavors, and completely pull myself into a potential, not a solidification, just a potential. if you can understand the difference. A potential is the unchosen state. It's where you have not made a decision. A solidified state is where you have made a decision, applied energy to it, and are moving forward to that potential, that singular potential. With this, you have to withdraw that singular ideal of a potential, remove all influence, and basically become a wave function of observation and possibility. And then from that point, you start reaching out, and there's a conduit. I don't even hate to use the word fucking conduit. It's various states of your being starts receiving information and transmitting information at the exact same time.
Can you still hear me? Good.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm outside, raining out, crappy right now. But yeah, I feel the same way you do. Like I don't want to tie myself down to any religion. I feel there's so much more to observe, or so much more to life than being tied down with one. To me, being tied down, it just leaves you to be stagnant mentally. There's so much more to take in life than being stuck, in one religion. They could all be right in their own way.
Oh, I believe that every, like I said, I'm an omnist, so I observe all religions and take what I can that's useful to me, and utilize it in my journey. I won't ascribe to an indoctrination, because I think the minute you do, you've limited your own potential to their belief. You still with us, brother?
Yeah, I'm here. I was hacking up a lung. Woo!
Oh,
Gotta stop cigarettes.
this weather's been great for that, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's raining here every other day.
Same here in Indiana. As a matter of fact, we had storms going through the last few days, unnatural for this particular time of year.
I've been seeing tornadoes on the YouTube. A lot of them been hitting the Midwest.
Yes. Yeah, we just got missed by two, one above us and one below us. I don't worry too much about storms and tornadoes and shit like that anymore. When I was younger, they were, they held their level of frightening possibility. Now, man, I love it when the air is ionized with thunder and lightning, and it's a shame that the rain it doesn't have the same ionic feel to it that it did when I was young, but it's still ionized and you can still feel it. Just, it comes with like hacking up the lung and not being able to breathe.
I remember when you could smell when it was going to rain in the air. I don't smell that anymore. Maybe the cigarette singed the smelling ability out of my nose, but the moisture, a lot of things are different because they're manipulating everything.
Yeah, I do miss the smell of an incoming rain. That had a particular feel to it that was very comforting. Or the sound of thunder rolling in from the distance always had a comfort to it. And the excitement of being in the middle of a really severe thunderstorm. After I learned to get over the fear, it was a very exciting and enjoyable experience. But I have seen devastation. I definitely have seen devastation that tornadoes and severe storms have done. And I feel bad for anybody affected by that. You know, that's a hell of a thing you have to go through. And fortunately, even in my endeavors out in the world of the nomad, I'd been through some pretty severe uh, weather experiences, but luckily I survived it. Perseverance, man, perseverance. So, what do you think on this, Charles? I want to stay kind of on topic. Have you ever, uh, let's say, we'll make it a little more basic. Have you ever thought of somebody, and when you're thinking of them, they call you?
Oh, dang, that was weird. I'm like, I'm trying to unmute and the thing disappeared. But yeah, all the time, man. They don't call me, but there's times I dwell into the past of memories of my mother, and it feels like I'm there. I feel like they're with me. I feel like they're telling me it's all right and shit. I always think about every day. There's not a day that don't pass. I don't think about my family or all the friends I've lost. People say
I'm
to let the past go, but that's just one thing I'll never let go. Those are people I cared about.
I'm
And
talking more in the present moment, Charles. I'm talking like thinking of an individual in present moment, and then suddenly they call, almost like a synchronicity.
yeah, that's kind of like what I'm saying.
Okay. Now, can you imagine? This is the concept of aspect. You're thinking of 4 or 5 people at the exact same time, and they all call you at once.
That would be, I don't know, that would be awesome. I mean, uh, that's kind of like
That's
how I feel when I'm thinking of people. It's like they put the thoughts in my head. Um, I've heard my name. I don't talk about it because people will call me crazy, but I thought my roommate was calling my name, and my roommate's like, I didn't say nothing. I hear my name called. I don't know what it is. I'm not gonna say it's my mom or a demon. I don't know. I know I'm not schizophrenic.
at least you hope you guys aren't. I started with to endeavor into this. I had to have a foundation. I couldn't just dive into this, you know, without any reference. So I started examining and researching precognitive events where a mother or a sibling would feel that the other is in danger and would react without any type of input or information externally, but all internally experienced. And upon their reaction, they were able to intervene. And I thought, okay, at what ratio does this type of information travel? And how is it received and how is it transmitted? How do you know when there's a potential for your mother, your dad, your sibling, or someone you care for to be completely in harm's way? You be physically unaware of it, but yet you know to react. And if you hadn't, the outcome would have been detrimental. And that's where I started this research. Was that precognitive event intervention?
So you're not talking about like your higher self warning you about something beforehand. You're talking about like you're someone you lost, like your mother or something, warning you.
Well,
That's
see,
what
I
you're
don't
trying.
apply it to spirits. I don't apply it to entities. I recently purged uh, the good, the bad, and the indifferent influences of energies from my environment. One is so I could endeavor on this without influence. I'm talking from you, from your core source of who you are. There is a field of information that you're capable of retrieving that gives you precognizance of a potential danger that you are not physically aware of, but you're cognizant of. And when you intervene off of this information, you change the potential or the outcome of someone's situation by saving their life or keeping them from losing a hand or something of that nature. And I'm talking you, the individual, not the influence of an energy or a spirit. I'm talking your own personal energy, your own personal interpretation, your own personal feed.
I think I understand it. Or understand it. It'll be kind of like getting a thought, and then I go and tell the person, "Oh man, warn the person," and them taking my warning and interfering with. I think I know what you mean.
Well,
It ain't.
there was
It ain't
one.
right, I think.
Go ahead, Charles.
I don't want to sound slow and shit, but
Well, there was one that I was researching where a woman was taking care of a sick child, and it was her son, and the whole family was in the presence of this child, taking care of him. The daughter had slipped out of the room and was headed for the swimming pool, and no one was cognizant that the little girl had left. And the mother, just instinctive and reactively, got up and ran to the little girl just before she went under the water and was able to rescue her from a potential demise. But she had no tangible way of knowing that this was transpiring because it was outside of the house and it was a garden or two away. And I was thinking, what level and what frequency does that information travel on? And how many variables can be affected at one time with that?
I know what you're saying now. Yeah, that's why I say we're towers, and we pick up signals from the ether, no matter where it's coming from. It could be not even pick up signals. Like it could be signals from wherever. I think the ether carries all different types of. It's like a highway, like
It's
like
one
a
of them,
cord.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I'm with,
interesting. What frequency? If you're able to tap into that frequency and pick it up, that would be something really awesome.
well, that's what I'm talking about, Charles, is not only being able to tap into that particular potential, because we are capable of it. And through my research, I had seen so much documentation of this and so much solidification of it being real that I thought, okay, if you can receive that information from one individualized point, why can you not receive that information and interact with it from multiple points, aspects? Did I lose you again, brother?
Oh no, I'm here. I was just thinking deeply about what you said. 1,000 thoughts are running through my mind. Like, wow.
Well, that's what I've been endeavoring on. And my research, and what I come up with, uh, took a hell of a toll on me, physically, endurance, um, energy, and even my ability to rest was completely overwhelmed with a flood of information from multiple points and variables. And whenever I was receiving phone calls and information, and I was sending phone calls out to see if there was any relevancy to it, there was, and multiple points at the exact same time.
That's interesting. As
Well,
much as people say,
go
like,
ahead.
uh, I think when people leave the physical, they're still present. You know, that veil
It's,
they talk about that's over our eyes, we can't, I don't think we could see too much, but we could pick up, like you were saying, the frequency
well, that's why I
for
was
sure.
saying it's what I've dealt with personally, Charles, is I've dealt with the ethereal, the prime material, the ethereal, um, and the uh, hyperdimensional. Uh, that being through means of hyperdimensional math and formula, um, shape and form, which has a resonance to it. And there is a interlocking. Um, I don't even know what to call it. I call it the field that holds it all within relevancy, that keeps it all coherent in multiple states. I just wanted to see how many I could access at one particular time and give potential and influence to and still get results.
Huh. Sorry about that. I was just
That's all
looking
right.
at this. There's this fire in the city, and there's still 2 days in a row they got it blocked off down there with the statue caught on fire. I was just staring down there, wondering why they're still there.
Careful breathing that shit, man.
Not to get off track, but I just watched the new Ghostbusters movie last night, and they kind of go into that whole realm
Really?
of the physical and the spiritual, and how this woman was speaking to a so-called ghost. She was able to see and hear the other side. Yeah, I'm gonna show clips of it when I get back home,
Cool.
and they
Uh,
go into the red and blue and all that duality stuff. But yeah,
awesome.
I don't want to
Awesome,
stop
man.
it
The latest
because
movie I saw was called Humane, and it is about the government assisted deletion, subcontracted out. And in Canada they have maid service, and they've extended the boundaries for which one can delete themselves all the way to mental illness. And I've been kind of observing the way they're managing this and the way that they're kind of selling it to the public as being, it's fine, you're impoverished or you're mentally ill or you're having a bad day, well, just come on down and we'll off you. And I'm like, how fucking profound, you know how insane have we gotten as a species? And this movie called Humane uh, deals with the psyche of that on a family basis, an individual basis, and a subcontractor and government basis. It's pretty intense.
I'm gonna have to check that movie out.
Well, if it's any indication of what's coming, it's already happened in Canada. So I don't know when it'll hit the States.
What do you mean by that in Canada? Like
Oh,
total
Canada has
control?
no. Canada has maid service, man. Do you know what maid service is?
No. Well, I do,
It's
but maybe it's different.
assisted offing, assisted deletion.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they've extended it to autism, the mentally ill, the impoverished, the homeless, and the terminally ill. So you can be a depressed poor fucker who just lost their home, and you can show up at one of these service centers, maid service centers, I guess, and they will assist you in exiting. Have you looked into that at all, Charles, or are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm on the bus. I'm waiting. I don't think this guy can start the bus. I think the bus. Oh, yeah. I've heard about that even here in America. They want to make it so you can just kill babies or even sick people.
Well, that's where they start. Canada has gone far beyond that.
So you're saying if people just want to like end their life, they can just be like, go to a doctor and they can snub them out of life.
Yep. Yep. That seems to be the case. And I've looked into it pretty heavy because I know, if it's being implicated on Canada, it's not going to be long till it's implicated here in the States.
That's why
Made is it.
I never thought I would see that, And how many doctors got put in prison because of helping sick people want to, just get out of the misery. And they've been put in prison for life, and now they're okay. And it's sort of like marijuana. Remember marijuana put you in jail. Now it's legal everywhere. They slowly implement.
Right. They creep up on you, man. They know what they're doing. They know what their objective is, and they know years down the line what they're going to subject us to. So they slow roll it in and kind of sell it, feed it, exploit it, and make it comfortable for the general populace, and they buy right into it. And then there's those of us who, I guess, have some type of uh, cognitive awareness that shit just isn't right. This is not the way we should be conducting ourselves. And thus you get people like us, Charles.
I'm here. I'm on the bus, and there's lots of noise. Sucks.
I got you. I got you. How long you going to be on the bus, brother?
Not long, 15 minutes.
I'm just going to go ahead and throw up a couple songs then.
Yeah.
And then once you get off the bus, just let me know.
All right, cool. That's perfect.
Thanks, Charles. And thanks for everyone listening.
distinguish for himself between the scenes of cold reality and those of pure illusion. Each of you must distinguish for himself between the scenes of cold reality and those of pure illusion. distinguish for himself between the scenes of cold reality and those of pure illusion. Each of you must distinguish for himself between the scenes of cold reality and those of pure illusion.
Just a special thanks to Anna Kay. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. I had no idea that was one of your guys' processes. It seems to be escalating worldwide. I know Canada is at the moment the most liberated as far as assisted deletion goes. I know that back in the day we had Jack Kevorkian who was doing assisted suicides here in the United States, and he got in a lot of trouble. Uh, some people called him a humanitarian, other people called him a devil. I imagine that's a matter of perspective. But now that it's became I'm going to literally, to me, it's a business. I mean, from what I've understood and read and studied as far as the maid service in Canada goes, this is just another fucking business, and it devalues, to my notion, human life to the point where they don't even recognize us as anything more than they would a herd of cattle. That you got one or two cows that eat on the other side of the pasture and do their own thing. Well, they're the first ones we're going to offer the service to. And then eventually the whole fucking pasture is going to get, deleted. But I know right now under the promotion that they're using to sell this will come to the States. And that's pretty much inevitable. I mean, they're just kind of pushing the boundaries of test marketing for this type of procedure in Canada at the moment. And I can't make a choice or a decision for anybody else. Some life circumstances in some situations for people maybe that's severe. That they feel that that's their only option. But as for me, I even as far as I've went in my own personal research and to the extremes and extents that I've taken my body and my mind, I just cannot. I can't deliver myself over to deletion. Whether that be some type of survival mechanism within me or some need to egotistically carry forward and prevail for something that may have yet manifested. I'm not sure. I just know that the more that I research and the more that I look into the states of things, the more that I understand that there has been a system put in place. It seems to have been put in place quite a long time ago that does not want the human to reach its maximum potential. and that even though we are a an aggressive, self-destructive, and almost a viral species to any planet or plane of existence, we still hold a profound magnificence within the great equation. The great equation to me is a divine equation that holds all equations, and it's the field that keeps all this functional. And I endeavor into that with the hopes that I can supersede the common conscious, um, with some type of understanding that is a little more profound than just your life, birth, death. You know, give them your hopes and dreams for a picket fence and a little white house or whatever. Uh, I never bought into that, and on the other hand, I never bought into self deletion. I wanted to experience the full potential of what we're capable of in an individual basis, because some of the experiences that I have, there's no possible way I could ever even share them or even begin to speak on them with any coherency or relevancy to anyone else. That's something you've got to do on your own. And I do promote that a person push their safety protocols and experience something new, experience the profound. Um, Safety protocols are good for those that uh, need them, but once you start moving those safety protocols and you start experiencing things that are not the norm or outside of what you consider to be general potential, you find that there's a whole state of planes of existence, from unseen mathematics, unseen frequencies, unseen energies, unseen spectrums of light. There's so much layered into this and around us that we're capable of experiencing. But as long as you have safety protocols up, you're not ever going to be able to reach those bounds because your mind will stop you. And I imagine there's been potential for people going completely insane, endeavoring into certain fields of study and research where it comes to the mind and the various states of being and potentials, and especially when you start getting to extremely deep equations of math beyond the generalized study of math. Those guys seem to go insane pretty easy. And artists, for some reason, it seems that artists they teeter on the border of madness and are easily subjected to self deletion. And I think that was a part of the structure that they implicated on us as a development of a species and the way that we come across as a society is to stifle that potential and kind of turn it into a taboo, such as Satanism or devil worship or demon summoning. They're going to scare the shit out of you any way they possibly can, and as long as your brain has been indoctrinated and programmed with safety protocols such as religions or policies, um, even authoritative suggestion will put up safety protocols to keep you from experiencing the fulfillment that you could possibly reach and the potentials that you have within you and that I've experienced myself. And I endeavor past these, um, sometimes to my detriment. And I definitely want to give a heads up and props out to Ian at We Are Awake News. He did come back. I posted in the community section. He's doing some research in his own areas about soul trap matrices and experiences of reincarnation and how to exit uh, potential uh, recycling. And I do suggest that if you endeavor into what may be potentials after you go through this physical existence, at least give him a listen. You know, you may not agree, but you might learn something. He's always come across with a relevant way of expressing ideals and knowledge, and I have a lot of appreciation for that. Some of the channels are cleaning their acts up, and they are getting rid of the trolls and the disruptors and those that have very small minds and very little intuition when it comes to greater things than just being an asshole or disrupting the flow of information and communication. But that's enough about that. But I do suggest We Are Awake News. And that's Ian, and he's always he's always had great potential, and I owe him a lot of props for this channel. My research has taken me to places where I can definitely say Ian has ventured. He when he says he's going through a cleanse, he's going through a cleanse. When he says that he's going to experience something for himself, you better well believe that he's going to experience it for himself, and he's going to come back and he's going to give you the real on it. And that's something that you're not going to find too many people doing, especially in social media. Those of us who do the experimentation, those of us who do put our bodies through whatever potential maximum to expand that's available to us. And I found that removing safety protocols and uh, working with various potentials and states seems to be my forte at the moment, and that's what I endeavored in. And it does. It comes at a physical cost, and it also has certain mental implications because you're no longer thinking within the box at that point. You've subjected yourself to variables that are so uncommon and not generally even experienced by, I want to even say, more enlightened people, because they're not saying the same things that we're saying, and they're not experiencing the same things we're experiencing. It seems like carbon copies of the same bullshit, which to me is just repetitive math, and that's fractal, and that just leads you down a perpetual hole of micro, macro, micro, macro, and repetitive states of being. I want more than that, and I've achieved more than that at various points in states of my own experiences. And those are the most profound to me. Those hold the most value. And the research and the study that I get back from that, I try and share as best that I can. Um, some of it can't be, some of it just can't be spoken. Some of it is so far beyond words that it can't be described. But if you do endeavor into these things, proceed with caution. at least know where your safety protocols are for yourself. And if you start moving those out, do so with caution. And that's just the only advice that I have, because I've thrown a band into the wind at times, and especially with this last one. But I went into it with the concept that once we exit this mortal coil, we become a different form of energy. And knowing that we experience this plane of existence mostly through visual, audio, um, smell, taste, touch, and even some of us that feel energies and vibrations. Um, that's our generalized understanding of our environment. Once the physical factor has been removed, my experience was that I was still observant. I still had awareness. I still had consciousness. I still had a cognizant understanding of what I was and what I was at that point in time. And I suppose that's what I tried to bring back with me from those points and apply it so that the human experience could become uh, much more profound and much more impactful, superhero like. Not really, but in a sense, you start to become your master of your own destiny. Um, Instead of being governed and led by the ring in the nose with the rest of the cattle, you start to differentiate yourself and work on a separate set of understandings and gearings. My first endeavors was giving up the Gregorian calendar, and I started using the moon, 28-day cycles for my years and seasons. And I even went so far as to start understanding the planetary heavenly bodies that affect us, the sun, how it has an impact, and states of energy that they give off that we're affected by, and we are, whether we want to admit it or not. They're measurable, and you can measure them as easily as watching the tide come in and out by the full of the moon, or at least they say. I think it's more of a fluctuation of give and take of energy. But knowing that the basis of the human body being potentially more water based, and apparently the biggest part of the environment we're in is water based, and knowing that water has memory and pliability allowed me to think that I also have this capability, and I think that most humans do. It's just they don't exercise that potential. Some people dabble, and I don't like a dabbler. If you can't endeavor 100% into what you're experiencing, then you're a half-asser, and half-assers generally get hurt. It's like knowing half a trade. You know, you're not doing yourself or anyone else any justice. If you're going to endeavor into something, endeavor wholeheartedly and give 100% of yourself, because that's the only way you're going to really experience the fullness of your endeavors. And I like to share those here. I like to promote that, and I hope that it at least touches an ear somewhere that holds relevancy. 'Cause like I said, I'm not promised tomorrow, and I found that out here recently. That's wishful thinking to think that tomorrow was guaranteed to me, especially whenever I've seen how fragile this particular mortal coil is under certain conditions. And I don't want anyone to go into states of madness and delusion or even illusions of experiences that sometimes are brought on with like various drugs, acid, DMT, shrooms. Though they give you a greater insight and a much more profound look at things temporarily, they're more so tools um, for the observation of various layers of potential, of frequency, of energy, of vibration, of states of being. And it gives you a peek inside of things that are present and are just as real, especially when you're going through that particular state, as if you were watching things in real time. And that leads to certain potentials in the mind where you're either going to adjust, understand, and comprehend and develop, or a lot of people have gone just completely insane. If you ever look at the story of Sid Barrett from Pink Floyd, that's that was a very profound experience, endeavors into LSD, along with many other artists. Like I said, it seems to be the artist who is more generally affected by madness that comes with pushing the boundaries, removing the safety protocols. We're subjected to something because I feel that the artist, the expressionist, and someone who endeavors into creation or creating is firing on a different set of cylinders. And people do love the sound of music and a beautiful painting, or even an ugly artistic painting of a rendition of hell, Dante, for instance. I like some of Hieronymus Bosch. You know, the more macabre, darker stuff I really enjoy, and then the surrealism of Salvador Dali. I really dig some Salvador Dali. But these are guys that also lost their cognizance, to their art, but they did push boundaries. So know that when you endeavor a channel like mine, or even Ian, that that this is it's not tongue in cheek, man. So please be careful. I would like to go further into my endeavors with the aspects, but before I shut this down and give way to Charles, because I don't like to overstream anybody, I want to give you a fundamental understanding that you can work with to start experiencing various states of coherency at the exact same time. Aspects of yourself in various states coherently working together at the exact same time. And this is something that is also covered in some of the deeper schools of occulted knowledge, is when you start projecting energy or intent into the dream state, which is the ethereal state, and you consciously do it on the prime material state, which is the awakened state, and you also apply that exact same energy or intent in the ethereal state, and you imply it into the field of possibility. Um, some people call it the ether. Maybe it's the glue that holds everything together. Uh, it is what it is. And you start pushing coherency with the underlying hyperdimensional states of even mathematic shape and form at the exact same time. You're capable at that point of creating a field of suggestion in multiple states at multiple points at the exact same time. And to be cognizantly aware of these states at the exact same time that you're experiencing them, you become a wave of potential. You are no longer solidified as a singular observer. You become a conscious observer. And the information that you get hit with is unboundly overwhelming. And before I let you go, remember, proceed with caution, because my my endeavor costed me a lot this time, and it was overwhelming, and it did deprivate my sleep. I could not get rest, and I was just completely flooded and overwhelmed with such a level of information that I'm still trying to go through the coherency of it. But I hope that this little interlude here helps somebody out, or helps somebody out along the way. And like I said, endeavor slowly, work with your safety protocols, and endeavor forward. And much love to Charles, all love to the chat. You guys are always awesome. You guys are always coherent and with the program, man. And I'm digging it. I really appreciate you guys. And thanks for listening to my music. That was originally my intent, but it turned into its own little monster. And if you want to research this further, go into aspects and states of being. If you want to understand a little bit about your own more mortality, Ian is touching on that with We Are Awake News. I'm not so much into the physical realm of the state of things. I'm more interested into the potentials of variables. So I don't promote many other channels because there's just not that many out there. And remember, this has all been done before. It's just a review. And your experience is your own. So endeavor to persevere. Act this out.